Pikmin lovers rejoice because it's been over a year since the entire series has been available on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo put Pikmin 1 and 2 together in one great package. After the Nintendo Direct in June last year, it shadow dropped onto the console digitally, with the physical release coming a few months afterwards. Then obviously we had already had Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the console since 2020, and then, a month later in July, Pikmin 4 came out for the first time. So as I was doing my research for this video, I found a lot of interesting facts that I had not known about the Pikmin series previously, and that might just be because I'm kind of a newbie to the series. Like, I'd always known about it, I've heard of it growing up, but I'd never really played any of the games until last year when Pikmin 1 and 2 dropped on the system, and then I was like, you know what the heck, I'll get 3 as well before 4 comes out. So it's just now been over a year since I have played all of the Pikmin games myself. So now that I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic for Pikmin 4, now that it's been a year since that game's release, I want to talk about my experiences with the series, some facts that I discovered, and the state of the Pikmin series. But before that, make sure you like today's video and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Click that notification bell if you want to know exactly when my videos come out. And I just want to say thank you guys for the amazing support that you have given my channel. I now have access to memberships, so if y'all want to join that, you can get access to early videos, community tab polls, badges, and all that. So please consider that if you want access to more of my content and you just want to be more involved in the community. With that out of the way, let's get into the state of the Pikmin series. The Pikmin series started with Pikmin 1 on the GameCube in 2001, October 26th. Only a month after the GameCube's actual release, so a lot of people didn't have much else to play besides Luigi's Mansion and looking forward to other games that were coming up. The GameCube is known for having started so many incredible series where Nintendo just kind of went crazy with their IPs. They had released so many first-party games with franchises that they had already established and franchises that they were going to establish as juggernauts for the future. The GameCube is the only console that is even similar to the Switch's insane output of incredible games and variety of games, with the GameCube actually probably one-upping the Switch in terms of new IP. Because the Pikmin series obviously was made here, but also, interestingly enough, the Animal Crossing series began on the GameCube as well, including the Luigi's Mansion series, which the console launched with. But today we're talking about Pikmin, and the first Pikmin game was made almost entirely by Miyamoto himself. No, that's not true, because there's a whole bunch of game developers that worked on this as well, but no, this is Miyamoto's baby, and if it weren't for Miyamoto, I am just so confident this game would not exist, and the series as a whole would have died a long time ago if they had even somehow gotten this game to come out. And in my research for this video, I discovered that Miyamoto had actually lied in E3 2001 about the game being quote-unquote almost completed. He said that because he just knew that the game was going to be done once he would be able to step into the director role. He actually is on record saying, "I will step down if it fails." This is how much confidence Miyamoto had in the new series that was Pikmin. Miyamoto has also gone on record saying that he believed that this franchise would be the new Mario and that it would have caught on like gangbusters, with people running to the stores to buy it and just everyone knowing the name Pikmin in every single household. And speaking of Mario, it's a common misconception that the demo Mario 128, which kind of had all these different Marios on this one platform, and the sphere itself kind of evolved with all of these different characters on one platform, many people attribute that to Mario Galaxy, as later on they would use that technology to develop the gravity system in that game. But then the Pikmin series, a lot of people said, oh, you know, there's a lot of Marios on this demo, so obviously they were inspired to have a bunch of little guys running around, and that was where Pikmin was born. But no, actually, Mario 28 didn't have a direct correlation to Pikmin, according to the program Yuji Kanado. He said that was not the case. We didn't know about the existence of Mario 128, so it's not like Pikmin was influenced by Mario 128 in terms of planning or technology, but many new ideas came out of Nintendo's GameCube ability to move a large number of characters, which wasn't possible back in the days of N64. So it seems more to me like that they had known of the power of the GameCube through its development process and just talking to the developers of the GameCube itself, and they thought, hey, let's have a game with all these little guys running around in this cute little environment that actually isn't so cute at all. And that's a great transition into the next part about this article that I read. Credit to Nintendo World Report for all of this information, by the way. The part about death and life itself. The Pikmin series is known for its little Pikmin characters running around and doing your bidding, essentially, but the problem is that every time that you send one towards an enemy, you're probably not going to have all of your Pikmin survive, especially at the beginning of the game when you're just getting used to the mechanics and getting used to the enemies around you. Your Pikmin are very likely all going to die at one point or another. And Miyamoto and the team had actually questioned this, saying, quote unquote, "Are we dead set on doing this?" But it just became one of those things where they were fine with it because of how the game was going to have to play out. If they wanted this world to be as realistic as possible and all of these weird, like crazy alien creatures to be actually weird, crazy alien creatures, then yeah, they had to go forward with this method of your little Pikmin that you love so dearly being your companions, helping your main character as much as possible, doing their bidding to the very last breath. Then yeah, they were gonna have to die. And that was a decision that they went forward with, probably because of the art style of this game. Like for example with Wind Waker, you see that a very cartoony art style are allowing them to do more crazy things with their characters. Like literally, Ganondorf is impaled at the top of his head. Like Link shoves the sword into his head, and that is just seen. And you can, and I mean, that's a big part of the game at the end. And can you imagine today, like they would never do that with a more realistic, gritty game like Twilight Princess, because they would have to actually animate the blood and all that. But because Nintendo tries to stay as family friendly as possible to give everyone the ultimate fun experience. But yeah, this is probably why Pikmin leans a little bit more in that direction, because hey, it's not super realistic, right? And this is where I'm going to transition to the actual game itself, because Pikmin, man, this game is so fun, even today, on the Switch. This is the first time I've ever played it. I've not played it on the GameCube or even on the Wii, and many people have said that the Pikmin series was best on the Wii with the pointer controls. It's just never going to get any better than this, but I think that they found themselves in somewhat of a middle ground here, where yes, the game is very much playable, and it's probably one of the best experiences in terms of playing it. So Pikmin finds yourself playing as Captain Olimar, who is going around in all these different alien planets, as that is his job from his home planet, is to go to all of these places and study native species. He actually crashes and has to find all of the different ship parts to his ship so he can go home, but he only has 30 days to do so because of the oxygen left in his tank. Olimar is a very curious creature who is very caring and empathetic towards the people who help him, and the people being Pikmin, which actually can't talk and don't have mouths, and some of them don't even have noses or ears, which is interesting enough. But Pikmin are a weird creature that are like carrots, and that is kind of the inspiration for their name, but the Pikmin creatures are plucked out of the ground, and Olimar is able to throw them and use them to help carry all of his items back to his ship, and also to fight off the enemies who so desperately want to kill him. There are red Pikmin, which are fire resistant, there are blue Pikmin, which are water resistant, and then there are yellow Pikmin, which help him to conduct electricity through different pathways that are able to get him towards his goal, which is obviously more pieces of his ship. Now, outside of these elemental abilities, the Pikmin themselves also have a little bit more nuance to their abilities. The red Pikmin are always super useful to have on deck because of their extra attack powers as a result of their spiky noses. This is especially helpful against enemies that can blow fire or just have fire on them in general, because not only are you completely avoiding the enemy's fire and you are being resistant towards that, but you're actually attacking them with a higher amount of power or damage that you would with any other Pikmin type. The yellow Pikmin, along with conducting electricity and using that for different puzzles, also are able to be thrown higher up, because Olimar will throw the Pikmin to get whatever he wants, but he can throw the yellow Pikmin up to higher ledges, and so that makes them a lot more useful to have in the party as well. And the blue Pikmin, I think all that they do is help you with the water levels and going underwater, which is kind of sad for the blue Pikmin. They're so useless. And the level design in these games, holy moly, are very, very good. Some of my favorite levels were the underground ones, and the last one, of course, but I just love strategizing, having only 30 days, having a timer for every single day that you play. To get back to your ship on time is such a thrill, especially if you just went for one more little treasure piece or just one more ship part before the day ended. Man, it's such a rush. I never really found myself worrying that I wasn't going to make it in time, but there were some days early on in the game where I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to take me forever to complete, especially once I got to the underground area, because it was so crazy. Like, I just remember dying so many times, and there was a very clear skill curve that put itself right there for me. So I was able to get better at the game in turn, but I was a little worried at first. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get everything that I wanted to get in that level before I would run out of time. And obviously, I'm going to talk a little bit about this last area because, man, is it insane. You have to use every single Pikmin type that you've encountered up to this point. Use all of your brain power just to freaking get to the final boss. And once you do get there, this dude is a freaking menace. It will take you multiple times to beat him and to save all of your Pikmin. One of the most endearing parts about this game is Captain Olimar's log. At the end of each day, his little log will pop up and you'll learn a little bit more about his past and what he thinks about this planet, what he thinks about what he's encountered and how he's going to get back home. Because he truly does not know if he's going to get back home or not, and neither do you as the player. Are you going to succeed? Is this going to be too difficult? What happens if that timer does run out? It makes you want to hurry just a little bit more, get just a little bit more treasure back, a little bit more of those enemies back to feed your Pikmin, to get them into the bulbs, to get more Pikmin, so that way you can probably have a better shot of getting your ship parts back. And I honestly think that this part of the game is very anti-Miyamoto because I don't care what y'all say, I don't care what he says himself, Miyamoto hates story. He doesn't like it. But this adds some actual character development, and for him to have pretty much this have been his baby, and for him to have made this exactly how he wanted in every single corner of the galaxy, I just can't believe how he made Captain Olimar so endearing and so full of character. Some of what Olimar will write in these logs is about his family and about his wife and how he wants to get back to her. It adds so much pressure because on day 22, he says this: "I wonder if I shall ever be able to escape from this world. How much suffering must I endure before I can finally see my family back home again? Still, when my heart grows too heavy, I take comfort in my efforts. I will get home, or I will expire trying." Am I the only one that thinks this is so deep for a Nintendo game, especially a Nintendo game of this caliber? Oh my goodness, this man wants to get back to his home. He wants to get back to his family. He wants so desperately to see them again and to take care of them. He doesn't even know if he's going to survive, but he's going to give it his all. He's going to fight until his last breath. And that is just inspiring. It makes you want to keep going. It makes you root for Captain Olimar to get the freak home because it's time. The level design, the enemies, this weird, wacky world that he encounters, all of these Pikmin are so much fun, and they are very interesting to look at, to discover, to just wonder, what the heck are they doing here? Why are they here? What is this planet? Is this Earth? Is this a post-apocalyptic Earth that we're playing on? Pikmin provides so many atmospheric questions that don't seem to ever get answered. And that's why it's such a beautiful world, because you just don't know. But neither does Captain Olimar, and that makes you feel like you're in his shoes even more. You are on this planet. You have no idea what this planet is or what these little alien creatures are, but you're just trying to get home. You're trying to get back to your family, and you wish that you had never, ever come here. But you are here, and you have to work through it. And that is similar to life in some ways. You have to work through the areas that you probably don't want to be in. You can't just run from them because they're there. They're all around you. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to fight, and you have to grow as a person to get past these obstacles that are in front of you. And yes, this game makes me think about that. It makes me think about my own life and how I can be better, how I can just grow, and how I can be like Captain Olimar. Nintendo games, especially around this time, make me think a lot like that, and it's crazy to see because obviously they've just never been a story-based company. They've never been a company that puts out games that really make you want to think about that, but yet we still all end up thinking about that, don't we? We still all end up going through some of their games and thinking, man, this is kind of like real life. This is where I'm at right now. It makes you just reflect upon your own life and your past itself. I wonder what would happen if Nintendo actually decided one day to focus entirely on that instead of just gameplay. They would probably be really, really good at it because their developers clearly have some sort of vision for all of their games that are kind of just being shut down by some of the higher ups who just wanted to focus on fun and gameplay and the Miyamoto way. Get you thinking, but not thinking too long because it's been about 14 minutes and I've only talked about one Pikmin game in the State of the Pikmin series video, so we gotta move on to Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2 gets so much hate from the community, and I understand why, because I didn't finish Pikmin 2. Oh, I know. I love the series. I got into the games and was having so much fun with it, and I was really so ready to get into Pikmin 2 after Pikmin 1, especially seeing the cutscene at the beginning, where you find out that Captain Olimar now has a buddy named Louie, and they have to go back to the planet where Olimar found all of these different items because the president of this crazy company needs more money. Sounds like this world that we live in ourselves, doesn't it? Everyone needs a little bit more money. But in this case, they kind of actually need a lot more money to actually, live. So they have to go back to this planet as their last hope to find more stuff to bring back and use all these treasures to pay off their enormous amount of debt that they somehow procured. Louie is just awful, and he is going to be even more awful later in the series, but Louie's annoying, and he is with you because you have a two-partner system now where you get to play as one or the other to get back Captain Olimar, then to get back Louie, then to use them both for puzzles to get everything that you need to eventually beat the game. And the game itself is a lot different than Pikmin 1. They pretty much changed up the entire format because yes, there is a day system, but it doesn't matter how long you're there. There's no rush, there's no hurry whatsoever because of the caves that you go into. And these caves are actually very interesting compared to Pikmin 1 because they're randomly generated. There's no specific level design crafted for you to do this, and that to get to here. It's all random, and you get to go wherever you want by getting all of these things and getting out of there as soon as possible. And it's just not, you could immediately tell in my voice, I went, it's just not my thing. I really missed the intricately crafted levels and the design and the enemies that you had to fight based on that design. It was just a lot different from Pikmin 1, and I didn't quite expect it because, well, I now I understand, looking back, why they packaged Pikmin 1 and 2 together, because I don't think a lot of people would have straight up bought Pikmin 2 on its own. I think Nintendo knows that it has a lot of flaws, and it's not a bad game, not by any means, and I'm not hating on it. It's just my least favorite out of the four, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because I don't have a lot of positive things to say. But the introduction of Louie, the introduction of treasures, no time limit, the introduction of caves specifically is going to be a big thing coming up later in Pikmin 4. But before we move on to the other Pikmin games, let me finish up talking about Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2 added a couple of different Pikmin types on top of the red returning, the blue returning, and the yellow type returning. This game added in purple Pikmin and white Pikmin. And the purple Pikmin were the big chonkers who can really defeat enemies almost in one go, and they have more strength than 10 other Pikmin combined to help pick up all of your different treasures, ship parts, items, whatever you need to get back. And so it was really unique to have all of these different Pikmin together in one area, and then to have the purple ones on top of that, because the first game had 3 different ones and the level design was the focus. You use those 3 to get where you needed to go, but then this game, it's less about getting where you need to go and figuring out how to find objects, and more about just using all of your Pikmin at your disposal to get the items back. And so the purple Pikmin was just pretty much broken in that aspect because they could get back as many items as you pretty much could ever dream of. Then the last type they added in was the white Pikmin, which had a resistant to poison, and also its ability would help you find treasure underneath ground, and it was the only type of Pikmin that could not only locate that treasure, but bury it up and bring it back to your ship for you. But it actually only took about 3 years for the original Pikmin 2 game to come out on the GameCube after the first one, and neither of them sold particularly well. The first Pikmin game sold 1.6 million units, while the second Pikmin game sold about 1.1 million units. And this was extremely disappointing to Miyamoto because this has been the series that he really thought was going to be the next Mario, the series that he believed was going to really just take off amongst the mass populations, but no one seemed to care. And I do attribute some of this lack of success to it just having released on the GameCube, which while is an incredibly nostalgic console and is one of the best first-party outputs a console has ever had, it didn't sell well. Not a lot of people had GameCubes, and that's always super surprising to me to have to remind people, and people are like, oh, I guess it didn't sell that well, because especially where I'm from, everybody here plays GameCubes, like when they grew up, and some of them still even have their GameCubes that they still play to this day. So it's really nostalgic for a lot of people, and the people that did have GameCubes will tell you it was one of the greatest consoles ever, and it was the best console, blah, 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 blah. but it didn't sell to the standards of all the other consoles on the market at the time. So I do attribute that to why Pikmin didn't sell as well. And unfortunately, that trend would just continue as Pikmin 1 and 2 were released on the Wii with new pointer controls on 2008 and 2009, and both of those games combined can't even reach 1 million units sold, which is it's just heartbreaking, honestly, for the Pikmin community, because at the time, people really loved the games and they wanted more, and it was 5+ years since Pikmin 2 at that point, and no one knew if the series would even come back after that, because this was a console with over 100 million players on it, and yet no one wanted to buy the Pikmin games. No one was giving them a shot. And unfortunately, the internet hadn't really taken off yet. Like, it wasn't a thing where you could just go online and look up reviews and stuff like that. There weren't as many YouTubers as there are today talking about all of these games and giving more awareness to these series. So unfortunately, Pikmin just wasn't popular, and no one had any way to really communicate that these games were coming out and that they were really high quality first party Nintendo games. And that trend of just being on the wrong place at the wrong time continues with Pikmin 3, which released in 2013 on the Wii U. And the game sold 1.28 million copies, which is just more than Pikmin 2 and is less than Pikmin 1. And obviously the Wii U was the biggest failure of Nintendo's entire existence, and it was not a good platform for it to release on. But the game itself, holy moly, Pikmin 3 was really, really good. Pikmin has always had this way of just being like, what the heck? How is this running on this console? Because on Pikmin 3, the environments are just so realistic and they're so beautiful. The biggest change to Pikmin 3 is very clearly its gameplay style. There are now 3 different captains for you to choose from, and each and every one of them are pretty endearing. Just like Captain Olimar, they all have different personalities and some character development along the way. You play as Alf, Brittany, and Captain Charlie on the SS Drake, and you're looking for all sorts of different types of food, so that way you can help solve the famine issue on your planet Kopai. One of the things that really sticks out to me about this is the boss fights. I mean, this game has a lot of different boss fights that are incredibly unique and fun to use. One that you have to use one of the new Pikmin types, the Rock Pikmin, and you just hit the top of it over and over again until it reveals itself, and then boom, you just attack it with all your different Pikmin. And speaking of different types of Pikmin, they added Wing Pikmin, which means that you can have ones that fly, and they're super lightweight, so they don't get to carry a lot of different things, but you can use them for environmental puzzles, and they were honestly pretty overpowered in this game. There are no purple Pikmin, they took those out. The white Pikmin are also not here. It's just those 2 new ones are the Rock Pikmin and the Wing Pikmin, on top of the 3 classic ones that we have already had, with the exact same attributes as the games prior. Then with the Switch version that later came out, they added in the Spicy Hot mode, which was basically just like you could have a higher difficulty mode, and then they added time trials, and there were just all these different types of modes, including a Captain Olimar mode, which like kind of was reminiscent of Pikmin 2, getting as much treasure as possible. Now, a lot of people say they love the final boss, and honestly, it's probably my least favorite boss in the series, so that's probably why I have Pikmin 3 below Pikmin 1, just because I felt Pikmin 1 was more of a consistent experience for me personally, but Pikmin 3 is still a really great game, and honestly, I just don't have a lot more to say about it, so we're going to move right along to Hey Pikmin. There are very few games that perfectly embody how tone deaf and just absolutely ridiculous Nintendo was during the Wii U era, and Hey Pikmin is the perfect example for this. Because Hey Pikmin, oh boy, Pikmin 3 released in 2013, and many people believed that the series was either on a very long hiatus or was probably just going to be dead, period. But Miyamoto had been teasing everyone that the next Pikmin game was coming for a really long time, and they just announced these games way too far in advance. And then Hey Pikmin was revealed and released for the 3DS in 2017, and it wasn't even a Pikmin game. It was a 2D platformer. And it was bad. It was really bad. And it was also the worst selling game in the series, deservedly so, not even selling 500,000 copies. It's at 444,000 copies to this day. And yeah, it's bad. It's inexcusable from Nintendo to be absolutely tone deaf and just to not even give their customers a reason to have hope in their series or in their franchise. So many games went this way. Animal Crossing didn't get a release on the Wii U. Instead, they had this weird Mario Party version of it that no one liked, and it was Amiibo, and it was awful. They did so many awful mistakes like this, and I just don't even want to talk about this anymore because I'm getting riled up. But the point is that the Pikmin series was really, it just didn't, no one knew. No one knew where it was heading, or if it was going to get another game, or if the game that Miyamoto had been teasing forever, the fabled Pikmin 4, if that game actually was Hey Pikmin. No one knew. And then we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And in 2020, Pikmin 3 Deluxe released and sold the best of the series, 2.4 million copies, which is 800,000 more than the previous bestseller, Pikmin 1. And then we waited some more. And from 2013 to 2022, there was absolutely no news on another mainline installment in the Pikmin series. Until September of 2022, Nintendo had their annual September Direct, and the screen faded to black. And then we saw a landscape that was pretty much ruined, but also overtaken by nature. And it just kept panning. And then we saw another angle from under a bench. And then it happened. We saw a Bulbasaur sitting next to a treasure. And as soon as that happened, the Pikmin 4 logo appeared onto the screen, and everyone in the community lost their collective mind. 9 years after the last Pikmin mainline game, we get an announcement for Pikmin 4, and it's beautiful, and it is just absolutely beautiful. And then later on, we got another direct for it, and we just saw trailer after trailer, and it just looks, to this day, it just looks amazing. It is so beautiful. Pikmin 4 is one of my favorite Nintendo Switch games of all time. Pikmin 4 is the ultimate love letter to the fan base of Pikmin, and it embodies perfectly the entire series all into one game. And funnily enough, most people's least favorite Pikmin game is Pikmin 2 because of the cave system and the lack of a timer once you're in those caves. And yet, Pikmin 4 seems to derive most of its inspiration from Pikmin 2, and yet, it's still the most beloved game in the franchise by far. I love how Pikmin 4 changes everything about Pikmin 2, and yet adds in so many aspects of Pikmin 2. Starting off with the Pikmin themselves, every single type of Pikmin is here. Every single type, from all of the games prior, plus a new type of Pikmin, Ice Pikmin, and Glow Pikmin, and those are so much fun to use. You can use the Ice Pikmin to freeze enemies, to freeze the water, to use it as a means of traversal, and it's just one of those things where it's like, it feels like it's been here the whole time. Like, I cannot imagine another Pikmin game without Ice Pikmin, because of course, there's Fire Pikmin, there's Water Pikmin, why wouldn't there be Ice Pikmin? Obviously, it just makes so much sense, and that's how you know you have stumbled upon an amazing idea for your game, as if it feels like it just has always been there. Now, the Glow Pikmin can only come out at night, and that's another new thing about this game, is that yes, you can be outside during the night, because in the first 3 games, you couldn't be out during them, you had to get everything done during the day, because the bigger monsters that would easily eat you and just roam around would be only active during the night. And so this game allows you to be out during the night with Glow Pikmin because they can attack all of the enemies with big bursts of light. And it's so incredible to see the different hives that you have to protect, and it really shakes up the gameplay really, really well, because you'll play through a day, and then you get the choice to either go to a night mission, or you can just keep going to the day. Like, it's not forced upon you, and I feel like it would have gotten old really fast if you had to do it. But now, you have the option to change up your gameplay variety whenever you want, and if you don't want to, guess what? You're not going to have to unless the main mission requires you to capture more of these little glow sprites. But it's an option. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, really. Now, I 100% completed the game, and I loved every second of it, so I played so many night levels, and they were really hard, especially towards the end. The difficulty curve in this game is really commendable, because a lot of this game, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's very accessible. That's the Nintendo way. You start off accessible, anyone can get into it, and then the difficulty ramps up, and if you want, you can make it more challenging on yourself, or you can challenge your skill level by restricting yourself in different ways. And of course, with all of these different types of Pikmin, it would be super easy for you to just abuse the most powerful ones in whatever levels that you were in by just farming them through your onions. But guess what? The onions in this game, you have to collect. And they don't just come every time you find a new Pikmin. You have to go out of your way to find onions for specific types of Pikmin. For example, the ice Pikmin do not get onions until almost the very end of the game. And at that point, you've almost beaten it. So yeah, you can have whatever the heck you want, Nintendo says. But it's so smart because I would have used ice Pikmin all the way through. I mean, they were so OP, but they were so fun to use because of that, and Nintendo knew that, so they didn't scale back the power of the Pikmin. Instead, they made it to where you couldn't easily access them. Another stroke of genius design by this amazing company. And of course, you can't get any further without talking about Oatchi. Oatchi is the best thing that has ever happened to Pikmin, period. Oatchi, you can ride him, you can use him to carry objects with you, and you can upgrade him, and you can use him to combat enemies. You can use Oatchi to do so many amazing things, and it feels so natural and fun. It is so amazing that this has not been a feature in the series before. Like, again, with the Ice Pikmin, it feels so natural to be riding around Oatchi. All of these different landscapes can be bigger now because you can ride Oatchi to wherever you want to go. But you don't even have to upgrade him if you don't want to. I can see a lot of players saying, oh, this game is too easy, I don't want to do that. Then don't do that, you don't have to. But guess what? If you do want to, Oatchi is one of the most useful strategic parts of this game. You can even send him off to go collect something and bring it back to you without you even interrupting your own gameplay flow. Like, he is such an amazing strategic part of this game. And one of the things I love about his upgrade system is that you can use him to overpower enemies, or you can focus specifically on treasure hunting and getting all of the items on the ground. Now, you can obviously 100% the game pretty easily and just focus on maxing out Oatchi, but for those players, most players aren't going to do that, and most players are going to have to decide between whether or not they want to upgrade Oatchi's traversability, or his ability to grab items, or his combat abilities. So you'll be able to focus on whichever one you want, and you can make Oatchi your own pretty much. Oatchi is the best part of this game, hands down. And I love the design. I love how the caves are back, and the caves actually feel like they have much more of a purpose this time. You go down into caves, and they're not randomly generated this time. This time, the items and the castaways, which I'll get to in a second, are always going to be in the same spot. So the level design is at its peak, and you have an excuse to make more insane, intricate designs because you're underground and you don't have to adhere to some strict law of this is how this landscape has to be. But no, you go down to caves for two reasons. Like I said, the other ones, and then the castaways. The castaways are so much fun to collect because every castaway you get will be back at your little home base that you go to, and they all will be able to give you side quests. You can talk to them, and some of them will even give you different abilities such as the shop or upgradables or all of these different things that you could do. There are obviously main characters in this game that you deal with besides your own character that you play as, which is more of an avatar this time around. Not really any sort of character, but just you. And that makes more sense for the Pikmin series in my opinion. But the characters around you are probably the weakest in the series. They're just kind of forgettable. I can remember their designs, but I can't even remember their names. And I think I don't even need to bother to Google it, because if I don't even remember their names or really any personality traits except for the one who's like a musclehead, then that's all you need to know about these characters. But their dialogue is as endearing as ever, and the story is pretty fun as well. You're there because obviously the ship crashed again and you have to find the people and get back to your planet. But this time, Captain Olimar is here, and he is transformed into a weird leafling creature, and you have to figure out why and what the heck is going on. And there's also another Oatchi-like dog on this planet who has turned into a Pikmin. So it's like a Pikmin dog, but it's also the Leafling's dog, and so people are like, oh, who is this? And it's very obviously Olimar, but they pretend like they don't know who it is. So it's really funny because you're just like, it's obviously Olimar, and they're like, I wonder who that could be. Then later on, the final boss is just so good, and I'm not going to spoil this here because it's been about a year since this game came out, and I'm just going to give you the opportunity to go and play Pikmin 4 right now. But the final boss and the post game and just all of the characters and how the story unfolds towards the end of the game, the level design ramps up, the difficulty ramps up. It is all phenomenal. And I know I said about Pikmin 3 how the world looked extremely lifelike and just realistic and beautiful. All of that times 20 for Pikmin 4. All of that times 20. I cannot wait to see what the next Pikmin game is going to look like on the next console, or even just this game on the next console. I don't know if the Switch 2 will be able to up-res these games. I hope it will, because it already looks gorgeous, but I can just imagine it looking a little bit better, and I'm excited. Pikmin 4. 10 out of 10 experience, all of the best parts of the entire Pikmin series without any of the bad parts, really. It's all fun. There's never a moment where you're just like, ugh, I don't even know, man. And then at the end, they even give you another Olimar like side experience. So it caters to the nostalgia of the longtime fans, and it is really accessible to newcomers as well. You don't have to know the story of the previous 3 games to know what the heck is going on here. But I will say, the lore in this game, it gets deeper. It gets deeper. This planet is I'm not even going to spoil it. This planet, there's something about the planet that you got to know. So it's exciting. Go buy Pikmin 4. Go play Pikmin 4. And yeah, that's about all I've got for all of the Pikmin games up to this point. I'm not going to talk about the mobile game Pikmin Bloom because I downloaded it and played it for like a day and it was super boring. So that is all for the Pikmin games up to this point. So that relieves us with one question. What is the state of the Pikmin series? Recency bias, sure, but I think the series is in the best place it has been since the first 2 games came out all those years ago. Pikmin 4 sold 3.48 million units, absolutely clobbering all of the other games combined except for like Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and it has sold well. The exposure, the marketing, everyone knows what Pikmin is now, and I feel like that is huge because not a lot of people knew what it was before, and the people who did honestly didn't care at that point. And so now Nintendo has really pumped up that brand, and they've used it in all of these different places like Nintendo World, like I mentioned earlier. But Pikmin is just more of a brand now, and I think that is so good for the series. Obviously, the game release schedule is a big problem. I mean, it took 10 years almost from Pikmin 3 to Pikmin 4, and even before that, it took about 9 years from Pikmin 2 to Pikmin 3. Now, I believe with the success of Pikmin 4 and how much Miyamoto loves this series and how much they've been pushing it lately, they're going to make an effort to get it on the Switch 2 within at least the first 3 years of that console's life, and I hope we don't have to wait too much longer, but if we do have to wait longer, give Pikmin 4 DLC. I know it's not going to happen, they're probably already moved on, but give Pikmin 4 DLC. And for the people who haven't played the Pikmin series at all and have just not thought it would cater to them, just jump on Pikmin 4. There will probably be a sale this upcoming month with Black Friday. Just jump on the train. It is such an amazing series, and Pikmin 4 perfectly embodies all of the other games and what makes them special. We went such a long time without hearing any news about Pikmin, and I think that's because Nintendo just wanted to focus in on their major franchises that they knew was going to be big successes because they were coming off their worst era ever, and they wanted the Switch to succeed, and they just didn't want to worry about all of these quote-unquote experimental projects like Pikmin because they didn't want it to fail, to be frank. But I think now that they are in a golden era, the best era they've ever been in their life, going into the Switch 2, we will probably see even more niche games come to the surface, more series get revived, and more people just get exposed to these ideas in these series. I think Pikmin has proved that with enough love and care and marketing, Nintendo, marketing, you have marketed this game very well. I think with enough love, care, and marketing, you can see how these games can come back and come back in a big way. 3 million copies may not seem like a lot, but for the Pikmin series, it is a lot. And for Nintendo, they have seen these games and seen their modest success at best, and yet they've kept making them because they're okay with putting out games that aren't as successful as 20 million copies, 30 million copies. They don't shut down their studios just because a game didn't sell like the best game of all time. And other companies should take note of that because modest successes from games that were on modest budgets are good for the industry. It's good for creativity. So yes, the state of the Pikmin series is that the Pikmin series is in the best shape it's ever been. And I think moving forward, we can expect Pikmin 5 to come out much sooner rather than later. Here's to another inevitable 9-year wait. No, just kidding. It'll be a lot sooner, right? Right? Hopefully. Hey, guess what? You made it to the end of the video. So that means it's time for you to like and subscribe, because if you made it all the way all the way to this point, you've got to like today's content, right? You've got to like these videos, and I make them all the time, once a week in fact. So make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Turn on the bell if you want to know exactly when I upload my weekly videos and shorts throughout the week. And also, like I said at the beginning of the video, memberships are now a new thing. If you want, you can donate like $2, $3, $4, $5. I can't even remember what I said it at, but it's $2 to $3, I believe. $5 for the max tier, and you can get early access to videos, community tab polls, badges, all that great stuff. So if you want to consider supporting the channel more, I would appreciate you do that. And yeah, thank you so much again just for making it to the end of the video. You are freaking awesome, and I love you. So with that, my name is Ray. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, y'all.